and welcome to another episode of Aligned Heart. I'm your host, Misty Springer, and today I could not be more excited because I have my dear friend Jen Liss on the show with me, and I have had this idea on my heart for years to interview ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things in the world. And my idea, my intention, my vision is that we have an opportunity to talk about these success principles, these ideas that we're talking about on the show, but I want to bring those to life. I want to hear the real stories behind women who are actually using these principles in their own lives and what it's doing for them. And so one of the very first people that I thought of is Jen. She is just a beautiful soul and has been such a dear friend on this journey of growth and development and entrepreneurship. And we've shared a lot over the last couple of years. And I wanted to share her story because she is someone who has inspired me with following her heart. When I think of somebody who has really put into practice this principle of following her body and heart and where it has taken her and the opportunities that have opened up because of looking at life through this lens of heart and body, I think of Jen. She has really embodied a lot of these principles, and it's taken her some pretty extraordinary places. She's just wrapped up her second retreat. She's been on a personal journey of traveling the world, and she is starting off onto another adventure in entrepreneurship. She's had several adventures before this, but she is someone that has so much depth and so much wisdom. I really wanted to share her story with all of you. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you all to Jen or Jennifer, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, so many changes in my life, and this is such a fun place to be at, to come and get to come and share on your podcast. I'm so honored to be here and to get to come and have this conversation with you. And I'm happy with Jennifer or Jen, but for many years I was Jennifer all growing up. But there was a moment years ago where I suddenly felt like I was Jen, and I lived as Jen for the past, just slightly over a decade. And I just had a feeling very recently that I'm going back to thinking of myself as Jennifer. Anybody else can call me what you will. It doesn't really matter to me. From me, I'm thinking of myself and feeling like a Jennifer. So I'm happy with either one.
Well, I think that's such a great segue. It perfectly introduces our topic because it is that idea of just following the little nudges. It's what I call the breadcrumbs of yes. It's the part of us that is not necessarily the logical brain. Like the logical brain is like Jennifer, who cares? But the body and heart have a different story, and there's meaning and layers of meaning behind the little nudges that we receive along the way. So I would love to hear your story, and for our listeners to just hear this progression of where you started out, maybe in your career, and where you are now in that progression. We'd just love to kind of hear an overview of your story, and then we'll dive in a little deeper.
Yeah, for sure. And the inner listening, it's always that I wish that I knew then what I know now, because where would that have taken me? And at the same time, I recognize and know, because of the work that you and I do and the journey that I've been on, that it could not have happened any other way. It was fully intended to happen in the way that it did. So growing up, I remember telling my mom when I was a kid, I'm going to be a hairstylist. I was in kindergarten, and I remember telling her, I want to be a hairstylist when I grow up. And my mom said, no, you don't. Because my mom had aunts, and she had aunts who were hairstylists, and they hated their jobs, and all they did was complain about how terrible their work was and their feet hurt and all the things that they always. So my mom was like, you don't want to do that. So from a very early age, I grew up with, and there were many examples that you know of. I have the blessing, by the way, everyone, of coaching with Misty. She does incredible work. If I could just be like a billboard for your work,
Mhm.
it's so magical. We started out as friends and I was like, wait, tell me more about your work. And then you started coaching me on it. I'm like, it's so magical what you do. But I have
Thank
so
you,
many
by the way.
examples, and yes, I have so many examples in my childhood of really feeling like what I wanted. I got this message over and over that what I wanted and what felt good to me wasn't it. And so that example of career, it followed me into, I mean, going into out of high school, I was like, okay, well, I need to do the smart thing and go to college and apply for scholarships and get scholarships and like do the scholarly thing. I was studying biology to be, I felt like I needed to go do something very serious and medical. And then I was like, that's not it. I'm going to do psychology. I'm going, what the thing that smart people do is what I was studying, when really my favorite class in college was creative writing. And really what I wanted to do is leave college and go to hair school, which actually is what I ended up doing. I left college, I went to hair school. I built a budding business that ended up being, I mean, quite successful, I would consider. I was making over 100 grand as a solo entrepreneur building my hair business. And I just felt one day that I was not meant to be there anymore. And I left. I left my clients. I left that whole thing. I make this sound very simple, but it was very dramatic. But I completely left that behind. I like parceled out all my clients to all my friends and filled up their books with all of these clients because I was so booked. And I left and I went and I said, I'm going to do the serious thing. I went back to the serious and I'm going to go put on a black suit and I'm going to get a job at a corporate office. And I even have a picture of myself my first day at the corporate office being like, welcome to corporate Jen. And that was where I took on the Jen identity, was as I stepped into the corporate world.
Interesting.
And I lived that. And eventually I felt like that's not it. And I left, I left that career and I ended up coaching. So I've had these like huge pivotal moments, which when you look back, Misty, I was reflecting on this, knowing we were going to have this conversation. Like I'm like, I'm toggling between doing the fun thing that I love and going and being the serious person, and then going and doing the fun thing that I love and going and being the serious person. And what I realize now is that I'm both of those people. I'm actually both of those. I actually really like serious things. I like the deep inner work. And I actually really love to have fun too, like the hairstylist personality. I love both things. And both of those parts exist within my body. But I always felt growing up that like something's wrong with me. I like split personality almost, you know? So I've toggled with both of those things my whole life. And what I have come to, which we can come into this conversation, is like how I have really begun to understand that all of me matters and all of the sides of me matter, and that it's all good. And I can actually start to bring all of that. And what happens when I start to bring all of that into the work that I do, which is what I'm doing today, more and more, you know, it's like, it's this constant unraveling. So that's the journey. And it's really incredible to get to reflect back on that and see and really start to look at all of the things, all of the decisions that got me to here.
I love that. Oh, there's so many different directions that we could go with this, and I love the unraveling and the discovery within the unraveling. So my first question to you is, what has accepting all parts of you? Like you said, there's the part of me that's really serious, and there's a part of me that really just loves the fun. How has accepting all parts of you opened up possibilities that maybe wouldn't have existed before? What has it done for you?
Yeah. Well, that has opened up possibilities that I never knew could even exist. For example, I am currently a breath worker and I host retreats. And the last retreat that we did like that's deep work, right? Like breath work, inner work, meditation, all of those things. Anybody listening to your podcast has obviously done some of those things because you offer it here on your podcast, or they've worked with you or have heard of you in some way. So we know that stuff can be like very serious. At the retreat that we just hosted, we were having so much fun. We were having dance parties, and we were, making up like fun band names for ourselves, and just like having like a goofy, hilarious, good time. And I would have never if I didn't accept all parts of myself, I would have never realized that that's something that could exist and that it could feel so good to be in that space if I hadn't done that. And one of the things that I see happening over and over with my clients, and that was happening over and over with me, was feeling like something's wrong with me. It's this feeling of something is wrong because I'm either being too serious, or I want it to be fun, or I start laughing in the middle of something that's supposed to be really, really serious. And I feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be serious right now. Like something is wrong with me, that I'm having a good time right now, or that like it feels like certain things could be fun to me, but something's wrong with it. And so that idea in general, I think, is something that is holding a lot of us back, and we can dig into that if you want to. But that for me, if you feel like something's wrong with you, then you're not accepting that a part of you exists, and we're rejecting parts of ourselves. And when that happens, we can't live to our fullest because we're not accepting the parts of like actual parts of yourself. So that's been a huge part of my journey.
Yeah, I would love to dig into that, because I do think that you're so right in that we do hold ourselves back by rejecting parts of ourselves as unacceptable, or I'll do this when I fix this part of me, or I can pursue my dream when I feel more confident, or when I stop playing small. Um, we talk a lot about getting into aligned action, and all aligned action is action that comes from the very heart of ourselves, and the part of ourselves that feels aligned with who we are designed to be. So how, and this kind of leads to my next question, how has dropping out of your mind and into your body and heart, we talk a lot about that on this podcast, how has that impacted the actions that you've taken and the acceptance that you have for all parts of yourself?
Yeah. So I'll go back to that very initial, when I knew that it was time for me to leave doing hair. That made no sense. That made zero sense on paper. It was expected probably that I would buy the salon that I was at, or I would go buy a salon and I would expand in that way because of where I was at in my career. That might have been a logical, smart next move, right? It made no sense to just completely leave that career behind, leave a full book of clients, and just completely abandon that. It made zero sense. And I was in a lot of pain with that decision because I was feeling bad about my clients. I was really scared about what that was going to create for my husband and I financially. I was definitely bringing in more money at the time than he was with my career. And so that decision in my head made no logical sense, that there was just something. And I remember telling people, I know it's crazy and it just makes no sense, and I'm doing it anyway. And I just had to keep saying, I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. I know that it makes no sense. And it was really, really difficult, in part because I didn't understand listening to myself. I didn't understand listening to my heart. I didn't understand listening to my soul, to the divine, to the messages. I did just have this knowing. And I see this with people a lot. It's like we have this knowing, but learning how to trust it when our brain and everybody else around us, like we'll go to the outside and we say, well, what do you think? What do you think? My mom's like, no, why are you gonna, if you want, she was like, I guess if you want to finish your degree, I guess, like, she couldn't give me the answer, but I just knew. And it took me a long time on this journey. Like anybody who's early in your journey and listening to this podcast, I'm like, thank the stars that Misty is putting this out here in the world for people to find. Because if I had had that, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had understood that it was my heart, it was my soul that was speaking to me, that would have been completely different. So it was, though, that's what was happening, was that my heart was telling me, this is the way, this is the way. And there was so much reassurance there when I would like accidentally get quiet with it. I didn't know how at that time to get quiet with it, but I kind of was like accidentally slipping into it sometimes, or it was just screaming at me so loudly that I was slipping into it and having those moments of listening. But over time, as I started to understand that that's what it was, because I got into these communities and I started studying all of this, I started, doing the inner work and working with coaches. And I slowly was like, oh, there's something here. And then it was, it was the body work. It was breath work. And that was where I really understood, oh my gosh, my body has messages for me. There's actual factual messages, full words, full on sentences and words that are coming directly from my heart, that are coming directly from parts of my body. I mean, you know this in your work, you help us to speak to the energetic parts of our, like physical parts of our body, physical energy in our body, and the divine. All of those messages, they're real and they're coming through. And when you start to listen to them, they will guide you to incredible things. For example, we'll go back to the retreat. 3 years ago, I heard this message that host magical retreats in magical places. I heard this message that came through from my heart. I was doing a meditation where I was connecting to my heart, and magical retreats in magical places. And I was like, how is that possible? I've never hosted a retreat. I have no idea how to do anything like that. No clue. But guess what just happened 2 weeks ago? I hosted a magical retreat in St. Martin, a pretty darn magical place. So your heart will guide you to what is meant for you. It's got straight facts, messages that are coming through. It's a matter of learning how to listen, which of course you help people to do.
Yeah. Oh, so much goodness in that. And I love that you put into words what so many of us are experiencing but don't know how to articulate. And that's been the work of my life, is learning to discern and listen to those very subtle voices. It's like learning a different language. When you're learning to listen to deeply to your body and heart, you are learning the nuances, the way that your body, your heart communicates with you. And it does take you magical places. It does feel magical. And at the same time, so grounded. And so, like you said, I left $100,000 a year hair business that made no logical sense because I had a knowing in my body and heart that I couldn't even put words to at the time. I didn't even know what it is that I was feeling, but it was so true. It was so real to me. I was able to take action on it. And that's what I think I think that's such a beautiful example of aligned action. I see that, aligned action is the action that feels like I just know this is the next step. I don't know what step 10 is going to look like. I don't know where this is taking me, but I can't deny that I have this feeling that says take a step.
Yeah.
And our job isn't to know where it's headed. We're just our job is to just listen and trust and become familiar with that inner knowing in our body and heart that says take a step and move. So I'm curious, we call it in the work that I do with my clients, I call it following the breadcrumbs of yes, that there is just this feeling of yes in your body and heart. And that's enough to propel you into action. And that action is that aligned action because it's aligned with the yes that you feel in your body. But I'm curious, where have the breadcrumbs of yes, what extraordinary places have those breadcrumbs of yes taken you that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise known?
So many places, there's so many experiences that I would have never had. I feel like I've reinvented myself over and over, just even in the past couple of years into incredible places. So a few years ago, um, I just had a feeling that it was time for me to leave my home state of Kansas. I grew up in Kansas. I'd lived there for 38 years, and I just had this feeling like I just want to go explore. I just want to go experience the world. But for a homebody, I was the kid that I would go to a slumber party and I would call my mom at midnight and be like, come pick me up. And so it got to the point where she wouldn't even, she's like, you can't go to slumber parties anymore because you're just going to have me come pick me up, So leaving home, very, very, very scary. But I just felt what you call the breadcrumbs of yes. I just felt that this is the next thing. Like this, it felt exciting. I got quiet with myself and I listened, and my body was like, absolutely, yes, it's time to go. And so my husband and I each made a list of the places that we might live in the world. He made his list. I made my list. Then we cross-referenced. We came down to 24 cities. I don't know how we both agreed on 24 cities, but we did. There were 24. And he started applying at jobs all over the country, ended up getting a job in Portland, Oregon. And that's where we live now. And I cannot imagine us not saying this yes, because it has changed our lives in such huge ways. We've also both had so much healing. By the way, we're both coming out. I mean, talk about transformation. We're coming out of a major upheaval of our relationship. We were separated for 7 months. And then I ended up leaving and being like, I can't do this anymore several months ago. And I left and I started exploring the world. That also was a following of the breadcrumb of yes, that I left and I went and traveled the world all by myself. I just returned home from that 2 weeks ago. And that experience, if I didn't learn how to listen to myself, we would have stayed in something that was not working for both of us. We would have been miserable, resentful martyrs, both of us. But what has happened from me making both of these decisions, the decision for us to move released any resentment that I was holding toward my family. It was not their fault that I didn't want to leave home, but I was holding unintentional resentment that I didn't know I was holding around feeling trapped in staying there. And then it's the same thing with my marriage. We were holding so much resentment. I was holding so much for feeling like caged and trapped when really I just wanted to be free and go explore. And so I let myself do it. And he and I, the transformation that happened in our marriage when I finally said, it's time for me to fly and let myself go and have that freedom and let him have what he needed, has been incredible. And both of those were following what my heart said to do and setting boundaries too. That's another thing, but 100% following what my soul was saying. It was saying, you gotta go. You gotta go do your thing. Like, do your thing, girl. Go enjoy life. Go be free. And following those things, like my relationship with my family is so much better. My relationship with him is so much better than it was. The fact that that has transformed as much as it has in just the past couple of months is incredible.
That's that magic that you were talking about. It feels magical because logically saying leave for 7 months, go travel the world, be free, doesn't necessarily translate to my marriage getting better, my relationship transforming,
Not logically, no.
not logically, but trusting that niggle in your heart. What allowed you to trust that?
That's such a good question. What allowed me to trust that was my connection and my knowing that I have built over years of listening. over really listening to myself. And what I would say for anybody who might be new to this and is starting to learn this is it's one little trust step at a time, and even experimenting with it and listening and then taking an action, what you say aligned action, take a little aligned action. It doesn't even have to be a big thing. What I actually suggest to people is say, one of the hardest decisions that we have to make in our life day to day is, what do I want to eat? Like, do I want pizza or do I want tacos? And use something so simple, something so black and white. Do I want this or do I want that? And actually listening to your body, because your body actually has an answer for you. It's actually the mind all the time that's so confused, but you can do this with anything. Like, what is it that I want? And make it a yes or a no. And then when you start to listen, you start to know what the feeling is. You start to know what a yes in your body feels like. You start to know what a no in your body feels like. And then you can start to grow that experience. It can start to be in bigger decisions, those like really hard, deep decisions in your life. You know what a yes feels like, and you know what a no feels like. And you can start to trust that time and time again. So for me, it did start that simple. Yeah, somebody said, listen to your body knows. And I was like, what the F is she talking about? I did not get that. I will say very clearly several years ago, that sounded like crazy talk to me. And it has led me now. It's like I look back and I'm like, oh, I was listening to my body even back then. I just didn't know it. But now I can use this to make better decisions, which has led to incredible career things that have happened to me. What I just mentioned about my relationship. And now I'm moving on to my health, Misty. I don't know if we've even talked to that about that, but it's my health is my next thing, and really listening to my body around my health, because those are such all of those are big things, but tackling them all at once is it's one after another.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up listening to your body, because that has been my journey to listen to myself, because it is it is such a practical way. And culturally, we've been taught not to listen. Like body, like that's not something that I can listen to. That my body, I don't even trust my body. I don't want to listen to my body. My body has been a source of pain or discomfort, or I don't trust my body. I wrote an article once called "Enlightenment at the Bottom of the Chocolate Chip Bag," because it was the process of learning to listen to my body, and the pain and the discomfort I was experiencing through my battle with binge and emotional eating that actually allowed me to learn how to listen to the wisdom of my body. Because I thought that everybody else had the answers. I thought that I needed to listen to the latest fad, or I remember sitting down at Google one afternoon and like typing in, why do I have cravings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Like, help me, like anybody else, tell me the answers, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And what I discovered was exactly what you mentioned. It wasn't until I really started listening and responding without judgment to the question, what do I want? What do I want? And it's a really powerful practice to just ask yourself, what do I want to eat in this moment? And giving yourself permission to have whatever you want, and then recognizing, oh my goodness, I actually don't want to sit and eat brownies all day long. Like that's the fear. The fear is that's well, of course, my body's just gonna, if I give it permission to have whatever it wants, it's just gonna want brownies all day long. But there's something really powerful about listening to what our body, the messages that our body has for us, and beginning with those very simple steps of just, what do I want to eat? Another place that I think is really powerful is just listening when you have to go to the bathroom. Like, how many times have we just like put it off? Like, oh, I'll go later, I'll go later, I'll go later. I remember watching my mom dance around the kitchen because she had to go to the bathroom. But it was like, no, I'll do one more thing before I actually listen to what my body is asking for. So it's actually those really small, nuanced um, practices that help us to tune in and listen. So I love what you're sharing with that. So you've
Yeah.
mentioned several times getting still and how that's helped you to listen. Talk a little bit more about what stillness or meditation or breath work, what that has done for you in learning to listen to these breadcrumbs of yes and that knowing within.
Yeah. That's been absolutely everything. That has been everything. It's been the doorway to me understanding what it really means to listen. I was not somebody who growing up was doing meditation and all of these things. I do remember though, I years ago I was in a yoga class and I remember thinking I could just do this all day. But I didn't listen to that voice. I didn't listen to that voice. If I had, though, and had followed that, that was actually my soul saying, I really could do this all day because now I teach breath work. I do meditation. I do a lot of the work that I was experiencing in those yoga classes. And that was a sign from my soul saying, this feels really good. But a lot of times we don't trust what feels good to us. And part of that goes back to that, what you were talking about. Like if I just let myself have it, I just let myself have it, but we talk ourselves out of the things that feel really good to us and that feel like yummy and joyful and delicious. Those are the things that from a young age I learned that's not okay. It's not okay to feel that good. It's not okay to trust the things that you love. You know that I had this strawberry dress that I loved as a kid. I had this cute little sweet strawberry dress that I loved. It was pink and it was puffy and it was fluffy, and I wanted to wear it to school every single day. And as great as that is, I eventually got quite tattered. And my mom was like, I cannot send this child to school anymore in the strawberry. She wants to wear it every single day. Everybody's going to think that she's not taking baths and she can't wear this tattered dress anymore. So my mom said, you can't wear this anymore. But for me, I memorized that as what I want is not okay and what makes me feel good. I felt so good in that dress. It was just like everything to me. What I memorized was that that's not okay. And so that memory that shows up all over the place and even in that yoga moment, it's like, oh, well, you can't have that. You can't feel this good every day. Why would you think that that's something that you can have this delicious moment? You can't have that. But when I now once I started doing meditation and breath work and got still and really listened and started to allow that to come through. But it was a very slow, I will say for me, there was no one moment where it was like, oh, you're suddenly listening. Except that I had a breathwork session that completely cracked me open, and a lot of people do have this experience with breathwork where they do it and it's like, "What is this wave of emotion that is rolling through?" I did this one breathwork session and I was sobbing, and I always considered myself to not be a crier, and in fact, prided myself in not being a crier, and breathwork, that session, I it just opened some kind of like, this emotional path to my heart that had been closed off forever. And I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And that was the doorway into my heart was that breathwork session. And from there, I I ended up in this breathwork program that you and I took together. And even then, I remember saying, I have no idea why I'm doing this. I have no idea why I just said yes to this program. I was just like handing them my credit card, take my money. I don't remember how much we even paid for that, but it wasn't cheap. And I was just saying yes to it because I just knew there was something about what I had just experienced that felt like the next breadcrumb that I needed to say yes to. And so breathwork was a huge pathway for me and into really deeper meditation. I think breathwork is a big path for people who maybe struggle to meditate. It's a way for us to get to that door because there's things that are blocking the door. So if you're somebody who struggles to meditate, then breath work is such a powerful way to potentially get there if it's something that you're exploring.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that, that the breath work is just, it's a way to um, literally drop out of your mind and into your body and heart. And I know for many of us who have meditated for years, the mind can be a very busy place, and we're not meant to not think. Our brain is designed to think, but getting into the breath, getting into the body is a really powerful way to get into those deep parts of ourselves that are ready to be heard and to be seen and to express. So this it actually leads me into my next question, because we talk a lot about um, our pain, and that our pain is an opportunity to pay attention inside now, that there is either physical pain or emotional pain, and our tendency is to run away from the pain. It doesn't feel good, it hurts. So why would I want to lean into that pain? I just want to get away from it. And yet, everything that you have been talking about, when we learn to listen to our body, sometimes it's not all about the bliss and the joy and the I feel amazing. So what has leaning into your pain taught you as you've learned to listen to yourself more closely?
Yeah, this really circles back to that acceptance of all parts of ourselves. And in fact, I'd like to move back very quickly before hopping over to pain on in many healing circles. We can sometimes, and in self development, it has gotten to a point where we've accepted the mind and the body and the heart side to the point of almost kind of demonizing the mind and demonizing the intellectual side. And that also can start to get into a little bit of dangerous territory too, because that brain, your mind, is so helpful. It is there to support you. It's got helpful information, just like your heart and your gut and your spirit, all of it, all of those parts. And I know you're nodding, Misty. Like, I know that you are a firm believer in this. Like, all of those parts have such helpful information for you. It's all so vital. And we need all of it, including your pain, including the pain. The pain, oh, like the pain in many ways is the way, because we will put up such elaborate schemes. Your mind and your body and your heart, they're all talking to each other. They will put up such elaborate schemes to keep you from experiencing pain. We are masters as human beings of creating ways to avoid the pain. But the pain is the way to break free. Like, if you want to keep everything as the status quo and you want to just stay exactly as you are, then don't look at the pain. But if you're feeling like you're being called to grow, your soul is nudging you in some direction. If you're listening to this podcast, I can guarantee you that you don't want to keep the status quo. There's something that feels like there's more for you in this lifetime. Your soul was not meant to coast. You're not one of those that just kind of came to come and chill. There sure are people on this earth that they came to just chill. They're like, yo, dude, I'm like surfer bro soul. I'm here to just like chill. That's fine. That's good. That's their path, but it's probably not your path. And so your path is probably going to involve you looking at some of your pain and feeling your pain and letting the pain be the way that guides you through to the next thing, because there is so much depth. The deeper you go and you're willing to go and experience and feel those pain, the underneath, I'm picturing like like a beaver like builds like these big dams with but if you're willing to like break down that dam and get down to the what's underneath and that current, then you will find yourself in whole new places, because you'll get to go with that flow that is being blocked by the dam. But it does take really being willing to have the courage to feel what's there, and what's there likely is some kind of pain, because that's where we experience the blocks. We build a block to keep ourselves from feeling it. But once you feel it, it's not as painful as we think. That's the big joke.
Yeah, and often I know this is the work that we do, is understand what the pain is there to teach us. There's so much wisdom, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. I'm always fascinated by the wisdom that comes through when we turn towards our pain instead of running away from it. And if you really want to get to know the most wise part of you, listen to your pain, because there's amazing insights and resources there that I know for me it took years for me to lean into my pain. I didn't want to hear my pain. I wanted to get as far away from it as I could. Like la 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 la. I don't hear you. I don't feel you. Um, Especially when we're brought up in a culture that is all about just feel good, feel happy, and don't acknowledge that there are bad things that are happening. I know that that was something that felt very real for me growing up, and there there is so much wisdom when we can turn towards those parts of ourselves that are just asking to be heard. And when we do, there's amazing information there. So just a plug for that. So you've talked a lot about your journey, and I love that you mentioned this nudge inside of you that you are here because you want to grow. Your path is a path of growth. You have felt that call to step into something more, and that's taken you on a really beautiful and powerful journey. And how has keeping a vision, not of where you're going, because I think that for me, that is the hardest part, is that oftentimes I'm being asked to step into the dark without really knowing where I'm going. I am a planner. I like to know what comes next. I like to know what's coming up in my summer. My kids, like when my kids were all home, we would have the calendar that was color coordinated with everybody's events going on, because that I felt calm when I knew exactly what to expect and where the next event was going to land, and I could prepare for it, and then I felt safe. But this path of doing extraordinary things often requires that you step out in faith, not knowing what that next step is going to be. So, what have you tapped into to step out in faith and to trust the yes, to trust that I'm headed in the direction that's right for me?
Oh, this is such an easy question, which is trusting your feelings. Oh my gosh, trusting your feelings. What? We've been taught that our feelings can't be trusted. We've been taught that our emotions can't be trusted. And that's something that I've heard over and over, and I think still lives in a lot of circles, is you can't trust your emotions. You can't trust your feelings. And that again goes back to, we can trust all parts of ourselves because it all has information. But I would encourage anybody who's listening, do you have a belief that you can't trust your feelings and that you can't trust your emotions because they have information for you that has come from a thought, that has come from something. It's all information for you. But feelings, absolutely. I firmly believe that the feelings that feel amazing to you, that feel joyful to you, whatever it is, like an experience that you have had at some point in your life that felt freaking awesome, those feelings are what your soul came here to experience. And this is my belief 100%. And that when I came into that knowing, it was like, whoa, like, oh, that's true. As crazy as that might have sounded to me 10 years ago, that absolutely is so, like, absolutely true and solid. And because I believe that, like, my soul came here to feel every single day a feeling of wow, a feeling of excitement, and a feeling of absolute total magnificence, because that's what my soul is. It is magnificence. And you're the one who guided me to that word in particular for me. And as long as I align to those words every single day, I know that I'm being guided. So when I wake up in the morning, it's the very first thing that I do is my top of the mountain statement. that you helped guide me to years ago. I don't know, even what, 2 or 3 years ago. I align to excitement. I align to wow. I align to magnificence. And I know that anything that comes my way today that feels right to me is aligned to those feelings because I've already aligned my energy to that. So I can absolutely trust that if it feels aligned there, I'm good to go because those are the feelings that I know my soul is like, hell yeah, that's awesome. So in so many experiences in my life, if I look back and I say, what were the coolest things that I have done? They all felt like, wow, especially that one is especially for me. It's wow. Like every day I want to feel wow. And I know that whether it's bungee jumping or it's hosting the retreat or it's hosting some kind of a session where somebody has some huge breakthrough or a coaching moment where somebody has a breakthrough or this conversation with you, you say something insightful and I'm like, wow, or watching a sunset, all of those are totally aligned. And I know that they will guide me to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing because it's what I came here to experience.
I love that. Pause that, rewind, listen to that about 4 more times because that is the definition of aligned action right there. So I love that you mentioned your top of the mountain statement because I wanted to kind of wrap up with this question. We talk about calibrating to your highest self, energetically aligning with your highest self. That you can't start on the path of wow. You can't start on the path of fear and end up at wow.
Mm.
Where you shine your light is the direction you'll see, and that's the direction that you'll go. So, how has, first of all, getting to know that version of you, that highest self, and for all of you that are listening, one of the first things that I do with my clients are just getting to know and introducing them to this highest version of themselves because it is so incredibly powerful. We all have a very good, clear picture of everything that we're not. What is fuzzy is everything that we are. And so, how do we hit a target we can't see? So, how has very clearly, not just seeing in your mind this version, this calibrating to your highest self, but calibrating your feelings, your beliefs, your energy with this highest self? What has that done for you?
It's done so much for me. So, for those listening, I'm a coach too, and I do this work in my own way. But I just want everybody, every single person who listens to this, to work with Misty to have her help you develop a top of the mountain statement because, and I have adopted that with my own clients in my own way too, because it's so incredibly powerful. And I'll walk you through when I very first, you walked me through, like I've done plenty of higher self, future self activations in the past. But the way that you did it and the way that I saw her when I met my higher self, I was almost taken aback. Like, that can't be me was my initial feeling and thought was that can't be me, but my heart knew it was true. So the mind and heart were definitely kind of having an experience where I was like, why is she all dressed in white? Why does she look so flowy? She seems so like confident. It was like, it felt good, but it also had a lot of questions around it where I could feel myself questioning and recalibrating in real time to who is this person? And what has come to pass is I just realized this very recently. I was on that trip, right, where I went to Europe for several months and I looked in my closet at everything that I had packed, Misty. It was like all white. I'm straight up. And let me just tell you guys, at one point I called Misty and I was like, you're not going to believe this, but it straight up is like I was wearing this really flowy white shirt that day too. It's like, I'm on this balcony. I'm in this kitchen. I'm looking at the sea. I was like, it is like I am living my higher self has just come to life right here. I'm like, my hair's gray. I've grown my gray out. And she also has this really long flowing gray hair. It's like, this person that seemed like such a stranger to me, she brought me to that moment. because I've been energetically aligning to her every single day, and the feelings that she desires to feel and what she is, that magnificence that she is. I've been aligning to her every day. This is how it works, you guys. It seriously became a reality. I'm standing looking at the ocean. This is what she does. She's standing there. She's on this balcony with this beautiful white kitchen behind her. And she's standing there on the balcony, wind in her hair, flowy outfit. And I was like, it just showed up. Like, here it is. And that is manifestation at its finest. And so aligning to, even if that person feels like a stranger to you at first, there's a part of you that knows that it's only a stranger to the person who you are today, and these parts of yourself, which are so beautiful, by the way. The person who you are today is just as magnificent as she is, but there's something that's calling you to more. And so let your heart lead you to that. Let an expert, amazing facilitator lead you to that, so that you can become the person who puts yourself in those scenarios, because that's what's been happening for me over the past few years, and it's been quite accelerated.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you so much for your beautiful, kind, generous words. And it is so magnificent to see this unfolding for you. And but that really is the power. We feel like we didn't start out our work together creating a checklist of items to do in order to end up in that kitchen, feeling the way that you felt. We started with the energetics. We started with what do you want to feel? What is this higher self that is calling you? And I just, the quote that comes to mind is that when you were saying you're magnificent where you are, it's like, absolutely. The quote that comes to mind is, God loves you just as you are, and he loves you enough not to let you stay that way. Then it's
I love
that,
that.
but it's that journey of becoming, that it's that's the niggle inside of us, right? There wasn't anything that you were moving from that said there's something wrong with where I'm at. It was the divine discontent that said, I am made for more. And that knowing is that pull forward. It's not a striving, it's not a willpowering your way forward, it's not a shaming yourself forward. It is a knowing that pulls you forward, because yes, there is more. And it doesn't matter what that more is. That more could just be, I want to make a difference in my own home. I know there's more for me in my relationship with my children and my family. There's more for me as a teacher in my school. There's more for me as an entrepreneur. There's more for me as somebody who is leading retreats. Like, the more doesn't, there's no better there's no better more. It's what is the more for you on your path. And that is the magnificence that is unfolding for all of us. That's the extraordinary that is available to all of us. And your extraordinary may look very different than somebody else's extraordinary, but you know it's yours because it feels extraordinary to you.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've learned along this path, and especially with connecting with that higher self, is that the truth is that you are extraordinary. We're also ordinary, because the extraordinary is actually in the ordinary. And as you begin to accept that, that's the word for me, has been magnificence, because that was such an energetically powerful word for me. But extraordinary, same, right? For my husband, it's radiance. He actually has done this process too. And for him, it's radiant. It's the feeling of radiant, which I know you personally align with as well. So whatever that is for you, like, that is the essence of who and what you are. And that's incredible. And when you begin to accept that, it's the acceptance of, oh my gosh, I am already extraordinary. The actual essence of what I am is that. And you're also like, it's so ordinary to be extraordinary. We all are. And when you do that, like, the spiritual gifts that unlock the connection to the divine, all of it really started for me there. I mean, I was so triggered by the word God Like, even when we were kind of first friends, I was like, ugh, she says God a lot, you know? Like, it's been quite a journey for me to really come home to that. And it starts with that acceptance. And for some people, that might already be where you're at, and that's amazing. But for many of us, I think, especially in this society now, we've gone really far away from our divine essence and that acceptance of it. And oh my gosh, when we all really, I dream of a world where everybody knows how divine they truly are, because
Yeah,
that is like the ultimate unlock to all beautiful things in this life.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it is that remembering of our extraordinary. There's no need to search for it. There's no need to go find it somewhere else. It is literally awakening to the extraordinary within you. And that is why I wanted to highlight these stories, because nobody starts out this journey thinking, I'm an extraordinary person, so I'm going to go do extraordinary things. What I think I have realized as I have worked with so many beautiful, amazing, extraordinarily ordinary women and men is that we all have extraordinary within us. It's there. And it's that awakening to the extraordinary that sets you on the path to your own extraordinary life. And there's no need to go searching anywhere outside of yourself for that path. It's following those breadcrumbs of yes and allowing it to unfold just in the way that is designed for you. So I'm so grateful to have your story now logged in this this file of extraordinarily ordinary. And I'm so grateful for you and who you are as a person and what you have taught me in our exchanges, and the friendship that we've developed over the years has truly been a gift and a blessing. So I'm so grateful that I get to share you with my audience and that they get to hear your story. So thank you so much for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of Aligned Heart. I'm Misty Springer, and we'll see you next time.